Mumbo Claw people, me say, me do to have a view here. For one place it look like one crime scene go on here so. It look like it's a bike. It look like it's a bike and so a brother here saw tell me say it's a bike, a youth and a girl crashed last night. Almost at 2 o'clock this morning. People, it's terribly tragic to blood clot. Watch out. A blood this, you know. The man say, yo, yeah, so she dead. Man say she dead right on spot. Watch out, people. Somebody bone this, you know. Look here. It's a bone this, you know, brother. Brother, a human being, blood clot, bone, brother. Brother, look good. And then a dog bone that in a dog. Look good. And then a dog bone that me a look upon a girl, you know. A human being bone that me a look upon, you know. See back of the truck here, so. Benny in a dog. Yo, this a me a welder and this a metal. This a hard metal and when you see a back of one truck, Benny inside a dog. And I want plating that in a brother. Brother, look here. Look on the runway. I chew here so it look like them coming a dog last night, you know. And catch a fire. See all the tire down here so. On the truck. Catch a fire. You see it? And we not done yet. Watch out. And the light post is bend off. Coming through here so now, dog. Yo, I never see this yet. Watch out. And the whole of here so the people them taking a dog. And clot at first me see this dog. Sorry about the bad word people. Watch out. Look here. And here so the bike parts them leaving a dog. Watch out. We out here so you know. Me say the man dead pan spot. The girl dead pan spot in and the man. Watch out, the girl slippers this in a dog, watch out. Bumbo clap, I never see this yet from a barn out of my mother. I want to see her something at me as well. Look at all the man helmet to shell out, watch out. Bumbo clap. Yo, me say, if you look on the crime scene here, so Bridging, it's tragic. Watch out, and the whole of this will be an aisle. Be a gas aisle and sitting this. Right, through here so the man come dog. Through here so. Me don't know what go on, brother. Me I tell you, me a welder, but you see if your man bend this, you see the party of the truck will bend? Eh? If somebody looking at that and bend that so brother, I want blood clot crash that. I want bombard piece of crash that. See that? Bone. See that right there so? A bone this me I look pan. Bone, see that? Bridging, that is a piece of human being bone. See blood under the truck here? Watch it. Jesus Christ Almighty God. May God, may them soul rest in peace.
Welcome to True Jamaica Buzz News and Entertainment with a buzz. When we hear the saying speed kills, this is actually what happened to a biker and his passenger. The man told you everything in detail, exactly what took place. So based on the impact of the truck that seems as if it was parked and the bike that was flying at not speed, we can only come to the conclusion that those persons did not and would not have made it. It was just physically impossible. So my point is this, and the moral of the story is this: people, be very careful out there, whether you are driving, whether you are riding on a bike, because sometimes persons are speeding and whenever they get out of control, it is pretty much it, especially if they were under the influence of alcohol, J-Ray and Neville. Don't know the case in this case. As soon as I get some more pertinent information, I'll be sure to divulge ASAP, point blank and period. So the next thing that is popping in the news is based off 2 viral videos that have been making their rounds on social media. That took place at a place known as Trackgate. Trackgate is in Lawrence Tavern. Lawrence Tavern is in rural St. Andrew. So based on information, it is said that at this party, there was a verbal altercation over some woman. A group of men, maybe about 4 or 5 or so, against a police officer who was identified as Constable Ebenezer Thomas. He is from the Portland Division. This incident took place in a place known as Trackgate, like I said, that is in Lawrence Tavern. Lawrence Tavern is in rural St. Andrew. The dispute all started over a woman dancing with one set of the man or the next set of the man. Don't know the specifics of that. However, what I saw is that the officer, the man with the gun that you saw in the video, he was pretty much ganged upon by about 4 or 5 men, including the fat man that you saw on the ground. They was beating him, they was punching him, they was kicking him, they were hitting him all over his head. And then it seems as if he did not have his tool at the time, or he could not have access to the tool based on the royal pelting that he was getting. However, the second part of the video, or the second video, showed when he confronted the fat man that was on the ground, it is said that it seems as if when the officer went for his gun, came back up, wheel and pop off that gun, and then tried to chase the man them who ran. However, it seems as if the fat man ran out of breath, and that is when he was caught. I want you to take a listen, take a look at exactly what the news has to say as it pertains to that case, and then I'll give my piece.
It's reported that between 5 and 6 a.m., the officer was engaged in a conversation with a female patron when he was approached and physically assaulted by a group of men. The officer drew his licensed firearm, causing the group to disperse. One of the men fell during the incident and was subsequently detained by the officer. Both parties gave statements at the Constant Spring Criminal Investigations Branch. The officer's firearm was seized as part of the standard investigative process. The police say the male civilian later provided an additional statement indicating that he does not wish to pursue the matter before the court. The police say no further action is being pursued by the civilian party at this time.
So people, you heard what the news journalist had to say as it pertains to the investigation. It is ongoing. Pretty much the investigation is over. The policeman's gun was seized. I guess it is going to be used as evidence based on the video that they saw. And the man that was also a part of the fight, that was a part of the gang, that pretty much rushed the officer, or the officer rushed them, don't know who initiated the fight. He also decided that he is not going to take the case any further. Now, people, why do you think that's a case that is so clear-cut? Now, people, I don't know the details as to how the policeman that was at a significant disadvantage when he was getting box, kick, thump, and all sorts of battle broke up in his head. He eventually got access to his gun. Don't know if he ran to his vehicle. Don't know if he had a gun on his waist and it was kind of tightly tucked in. However, as soon as he got that advantage or got access to that tool, he decided that he had the upper hand, and that is when the other men started to run, and that is when Fat Boy decided that, listen, I cannot go no further. He was breathing hard and he fell on the ground. Don't know the policeman kick going foot or whatever the circumstances are. At the end of the day, based on what we are hearing, the case is going no further. Based on the fact that the policeman's gun was seized and it is under investigation, people. Based on just my opinion, like I said, I don't know how the fight was started. I don't know if the policeman was attacked, because if that is the case, he has the right to defend himself. However, whenever you have the tool and persons are trying to stop you, it just shows that you don't have the temperament that is required to be a police officer, because people are definitely trying to calm you down. And even when the man was on the ground, you were still hitting the man in his face and acting as if you was a thug. That was no sort of attitude for a police officer. And again, like I said, the other persons decided that they are not going to push the case any further, because we know that these police officers, whether it is justified or not, they are very vindictive. So therefore, those persons' life might be in danger. And what is the sad thing about this whole situation is that most of these persons are probably from the same era, know each other, but this is what happens when girls, ego and alcohol comes into play, point blank and period. So the next thing that is popping in the news is that we see that the deportees are back at it once again. They are trying to make up for all the money that they lost when they left America, got deported for all sorts of criminal activity. Such is the case of one DeAndre Williams, deportee extraordinaire. It is said that this man is wanted for robberies, this man is wanted for murders, car theft, and also carjacking. And the police is asking him to kindly surrender himself. Based on the information, as a matter of fact, I am going to let the news people tell you exactly what he did and what he's wanted for, and then I'll give my piece. Take a listen, take a look.
The police have named a man who they say is wanted for various crimes, including murder, robberies, car theft, and carjacking. He is DeAndre Dominic Williams, who also goes by aliases Yankee, Yanks, or Street Life. The police say Mr. Williams is a deportee who often speaks with an accent. He is from 4 Nanny Boulevard, Kingston 3, and 68.5 Chisholm Avenue, Kingston 11. The police say Mr. Williams is considered armed and dangerous. He reportedly frequents the communities of Nannyville, Stony Hill, Chisholm Avenue, and Swallowfield, St. Andrew. The police say he's also known to use various motels and guest houses across the corporate area. The Jamaica Constabulary Force is appealing to the public to assist in locating him. Anyone with information on his whereabouts is being asked to immediately contact 119, the nearest police station, or the St. Andrews South CIB. The public is advised not to approach Mr. Williams as he is considered armed and dangerous. Williams is being urged to surrender to the police peacefully.
Now, people, based on what these persons said, we can come to the conclusion that this man is a dangerous individual. When we talk about theft, carjacking, murder, it does not get any worse than that. Now, people, whenever we see plane loads of deportees coming back to Jamaica from UK, from Canada, from America mostly, we hear the relevant authority, meaning the police, claiming that they are going to be monitored. The first thing that they are going to do, take them to the police station, run some sorts of criminal background check on them, see if they are wanted for any crimes, especially serious crime. We are then going to keep a tab on them. We are then going to monitor them. Well, people, that is furthest from the truth. Pretty much when these people come in, if them can't find any sorts of background crime that they are wanted for, these persons are left on the street at the mercy of John and Jane public. So this is what we see going on. This is what has been going on for a couple of decades. So we see Mr. Yankee, that is his street name, Mr. Street Life, he is actually out here acting streets. Hopefully, the police can get a hold of him and put him in his proper perspective, meaning prison, or either even Wasara, in the graveyard, point blank and period. So the next thing that is popping in the news, it is called promises, promises, promises. And like they say, a promise is a comfort to a fool. Well, people, we see that the elections is up on us on the 3rd of September 2025. So we know that the JLP and the PNP, both parties, two parties, same sad song, they are giving out all sorts of promises. So people, I am going to lay out the latest promises by the JLP and the latest promises by the PNP, both parties. So in one instance, we saw that the Prime Minister, Andrew Holness, he came out and he said, if they win, they are going to increase the minimum wage. They are going to double the minimum wage over the next couple of years or so. The first year, the minimum wage is going to move from $16,000 to $18,500. That is $2,500 a week difference. So I want you to take a look at exactly what your Prime Minister has to say as it pertains to the minimum wage, and then I'll give my piece.
Yes, it's important for quality of life, but here's a big problem. At 3.3% unemployment, you are practically at full employment. People are not making a decision to leave what they are doing. Many of them are at home, many of them are at the street side, some of them are hustling. And so the incentive to work at that level is not strong enough. So by increasing the minimum wage gradually, you shift the incentive to work in favor of work. So you're going to get more Jamaicans voluntarily deciding to move out of the unemployment pool and into the labor pool. And that will give greater opportunity for growth in the economy.
Now, people, this is my disclaimer. These are factual stuff in which the Prime Minister said. This is not me making up stuff, so therefore don't blame the messenger. Blame the message or blame the person giving the message. Now, people, we've seen purses in the private sector, sorry, not private sector, public sector, meaning teachers, meaning firemen, meaning policemen. Everybody is kind of pissed off, ticked off because they feel as if they are not getting the proper wages, especially teachers. We saw that they came out and they promised the teachers that they were going to give them 0% raise in the first year. However, the teachers did not accept it. And then about 2% or so the years after. We see that that negotiation has not gone very, very well based on those promises. So therefore, if you want to decide the future, you have to look at the past history of these purses. When you look at the fact that the minimum wage is probably a little over 100 US a week, which is no money, none at all, especially as expensive as Jamaica is. And even with the minimum rise, meaning 2,500, that can hardly do anything in any supermarket, any lifestyle in Jamaica, but something is better than nothing. However, at the end of the day, we have to look at the history of the persons making the promise, whether that person is JLP or PNP. So I say this to say that both of them are going to give you promises. I am going to speak about the PNP promises further on in this news. Now, the next thing that we saw is that there was a poll, or there were two polls, Blue Dot poll and then a poll by a noted, reputable expert pollster. His name is Don Anderson. I want you to take a listen, take a look at exactly what the JLP has to say as it pertains to both polls, and then I'll give my piece.
We have seen everybody have an opinion about the result of the election. I see one poll that says we are runaway victors, and another poll that says we're in a statistical dead heat. Don't get carried away by polls. We know that the Jamaican people believe in the Jamaica Labour Party, but election is where it matters. The best poll is the poll on the 3rd of September at 5 o'clock when we check up the votes and we return the Jamaica Labour Party to the victory and for the next 5 years.
Now, people, like I said, if you go to courts, the person that is allowed to testify at the judge's quarter is a person that is considered an expert. When it pertains to Mr. Don Anderson, noted probably the best, most reputable pollster in Jamaica, he said that the PNP has a slight lead, 3%, I know the margin is 3%, so therefore it probably dead heats. When you look at the Blue Dot poll is saying that the JLP has a 13% or 13-point lead. Now, people, if you're surveying the same amount of people, those polls should be very, very close, maybe a margin of 1% or 1. However, when we see the difference in the polls, it tells us that somebody is lying. As to who is lying and as to who has the advantage or disadvantage, that is for you to determine. So that is as it pertains to the poll and the JLP opinion on both polls, which one is favorable and which one is not favorable. The next thing that I am going to speak about is Marky G, meaning the PNP leader's promise that he's going to decrease or increase the income tax threshold. That means that if you make less than 3 million or 6 million, whatever the case is, you're not going to be taxed. So therefore, you're going to be bringing home more money. Take a listen, take a look at exactly what he has to say, and then I'll give my piece.
Because they're talking about poverty rate and they're talking about unemployment rate. But if those rates don't mean anything because people hungry and people not eating properly, that means something must be done. And that is why we're going to increase the income tax threshold to 3.5 million a year. You will pay zero tax on the first $3.5 million of your income. It is going to mean a significant benefit for many people who are struggling now. And for those who earn more, they will get the benefit up to 3.5. So there's something in it for them as well. I want to thank the hotel workers I was reasoning with a few weeks ago here in Montego Bay, who said to me, Marky G, the tax and the tips and the gratuity, it have way away. Need more money in our pocket. We work hard, but we can't make ends meet. I beg you, deal with that for me. I'm going to say, I'm going to deal it for you. Because my sister, you need it. We're going to deal with it for them. We won't be taxing the tips and the security guard and the police and the firemen and any worker who earns overtime pay in this country. If your earnings are under $6 million a year, you will not be taxed on your overtime because we know you need that little break.
So people, you heard what both parties, meaning your Prime Minister, meaning Dr. Christopher Tufton, meaning Marky G, leader of the PNP, has to say as it pertains to promises. Now people, isn't it kind of weird that these persons are making these promises right as we have the election? What about persons that were wanting water for the last couple of decades? What about these employees or workers that have been paid very minimal on the minimum wage? How is it that as soon as the election is upon us, all of these promises are made? However, people, like me say, by the time these promises are to be fulfilled or not, the election is going to be over and these persons are going to go back to square one from whence they came, and persons who are suffering are going to continue to suffer. Point blank and period. So anyways, people, thanks once again for checking out my video. If you appreciate videos like these, please show your appreciation by liking, commenting, sharing, and subscribing to my channel. That is how YouTube promotes videos like these to like-minded, sensible persons like yourself. Bless up.